Hello and welcome to Module 25, Network Security Data. So in this module, we will cover types of security data that we're going to take a look at and how to analyze it. The device logs, the end device logs like the event viewer and things like that. And we'll take a look at some of the network logs. We'll analyze them. You've got to be able, as a security analyst, to be able to take a look at these logs and read them and understand what these alerts are for. So let's take a look at some of the types of security data that are out there. Don't forget you need to take notes, right? So make sure you have your Microsoft Word open. So when I tell you to take the notes, you take them and you'll submit them at the end of this lecture. Okay, alert data. So this is a typical alert data that comes from the Squirrel console. So it may be an alert that came from an IPS system or an IDS system. Snort could be is a typical network intrusion detection system that generates these types of reports. So this is a typical alert, and here is, please take a snapshot of this, okay, so you'll understand what this type of alert may be. This is in terms of a session and transaction data. So session data is when you have a connection between 2 points, so the session is open, and they record the actual session information that is connection. So please write down take a picture of this and write down these bullet points for them, right? So there are 5 tuples: the source, the IP address, the destination address, port numbers, the IP code, and for which protocol that it's being used. Okay, and you should be, and please read all of that, at least be familiar with these. Okay, so for example, the duration is how long the session was open for. The service is what type of protocol. So this is an HTTP packet, for example, right? So it's easy. You should be familiar with this and at least have it on hand. You need to be able to analyze these type of the data that's being sent, the alerts, or it could be informational, or it could be something that is critical. All right. Transaction data, it consists of messages that are exchanged. So this is when you have the actual data that is being exchanged within the session. All right. So, and you can analyze that data also. Here's a full captured from the Cisco NAM. This is something similar like Wireshark. You can capture the whole packet and analyze it in details. So we could be doing something like that in class. Statistical data is actual taking statistical information about the traffic that is patterned within the network. So statistical data is about the network traffic specifically. You can find out where the bottlenecking are. You can actually take that information and give recommendation on how to improve the performance of the network, having better access to your resources, right? So you can also do that as well. All right, now let's take a look at the end device logs that are out there. Of course, there is the host logs on your computer, on your device, the end devices. So the host-based intrusion detection system run on individual hosts, of course, on the end devices. And many of them will have, they put information, they put all the events that occur on that end device in a log. Just like your Windows-based PC, it has the event viewer. So please write that down for the Microsoft Windows logs. There's the application logs that contain logs by different applications that are running on your computer. So anything happens out on that application, it goes in there. System logs, you have the setup logs, the security logs, and even the command logs. So please write these down. You should be familiar with these, and you should, you can just go to the search and at least view the event viewer in on your Windows-based PC so you get familiar with these logs. And they can help you troubleshoot. So you would use EndViewer, for example. if somebody gave you a PC and he's telling you that my PC started acting funny and blah, 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 and whatever. And you can go to the event viewer and see when that started to occur. Maybe there's an application failure or a system in the log, it started to occur maybe at 10 o'clock at night. You can actually tell maybe a driver has been not behaving the way it's supposed to be. So you can actually find more information. It could be a warning, it could be a failure, and it could be just informational. So get familiar with System Log. A lot of people don't use it, but it's a really very powerful utility to help you to troubleshoot your systems. All right, so take a picture of this. This is for the Windows log, and it tells you the different types of events that are occurring. So if there's an error, so that means there's a problem, such as, the data didn't work out or the application didn't start up correctly. There may be a warning. Everything worked out fine, but there's a good chance that it might fail next time. Information is just telling you information about a specific application that got loaded up, for example, or a service or anything like that. Success audit, that means I checked out the application or the system files and they were fine. And a failure audit, maybe after checking for security audit, there is a few failures, and that will also will send out an alert. So you should be, for troubleshooting, you're looking for errors and warnings, specifically errors if there's an actual failure. And it would be with a red. Syslog servers are, we discussed that earlier. This is where devices across the network are sending their information to a server where the System Log server will keep track of all these alerts. And in the Syslog, there are three elements in there. There's the priority, the header, and the message. Okay, so you should be familiar with the Syslog message format, right? So the severity and facility is what constitute the primary. And here are the values of the severity from 0 to 7. On the old CCNA exam, that was the CCNA security exam that were learned. On the old CCNA security exam, I think they retired at Cisco, and this always came up. So please take a picture of this, and it's still valid today, and I'm pretty sure they will definitely ask you about questions about these values. So 0 is an emergency. The lower the severity, the more important. The higher the number, the less critical it is. So 0 is emergency. If you get a 1, it's an alert, then critical, error, warning, notice, informational, or a debug. All right, the facility codes are either from 15 to 23, 0 to 7 right here, right? So how do you calculate the priority? You take the facility times 8 plus the severity, and that will give you the priority number. So please write that down in case you are asked for it. So just remember, these are the severity values, and then what you're doing is you're taking the facility value, multiplied by 8 plus the severity, and it will give you the priority number that's in there. All right, so here's server logs. So we have 2 logs that we really need to most likely either the Apache web servers on the Linux machines or the Microsoft Internet Information Servers or Microsoft web servers. So here's different logs from these 2 different servers, right? That you should be able to read. Tells you the IP address. In this case, for the Microsoft, here's the date, the time, the IP address of the server, and all of that information. There was a GET using HTTP from this destination. All right, the SIEM and log collections. The security, information, and event management technology is used by many organizations, as we have discussed this since the beginning of this semester. So please take a picture of this. All those information from all of these different devices, from the IPSs, the firewalls, the heads, the server logs, are all fed into the same technology. And the same then will take a look at all aggregate and come up with solutions. It will report some compliance reporting, send you some data and reports, alerts, incident management. So this way, down here is where you get your results and act upon, right? So please also write these down. This is what the scene functions are used for. Log collections, normalizations. So it will take all the events, event records, just log them. That's self-explanatory. The normalization. This will map the log messages from different systems into one common model. So if you have different systems giving you logs, and puts it all into one system for analysis purposes. Then you got correlations. This is going to link the log events from different systems or applications to speed things up a little bit. You aggregate all of this information into one duplicate event. So if you got different alerts from different systems, SIEM will be able to get them all together, and they can actually tell you, hey, there's a problem, and somebody attacked the network XYZ through the router, because we got so many information coming from different places, from syslog servers, event viewers, and all of that. You'll be able to aggregate all that information and report it to you. And this way, to speed things up, you'll know exactly where the problem is, right? It can communicate to syslog server, event viewers, you name it. That's what the SIEM is there for. And of course, it does compliance. This reporting is to satisfy the requirements of the compliance regulations. So, making sure, for example, if you want to be compliant with the ISO 27001 standard, so things like that. All right, so please take these bullet points down. This is a Splunk dashboard that uses, this is popular, that being used by a lot of the SOCs to analyze all the data. So it will give you the source IP addresses, where the data is coming from, where most of the data is going to, for example, the transmitted data, how much data is being pumped. So this is very, very powerful dashboard for cybersecurity analysis. Okay, and it tells you it's you're coming from the United States, sending it maybe to China. All right, so let's take a look at some network logs. Network logs, any events that are happening on the network, and or any transaction, HTTP, DNS, ICMP packets, you name it, right? So TCPDump is, please write that down, is a command line tool that is very popular. Wireshark is a GUI version of TCPDump, right? So this will capture all the data that is traversing your network. NetFlow is a Cisco proprietary tool, and this is really, its main responsibility is to analyze the traffic that is flowing in the network. So it can be used, please write that down, NetFlow can be used for accounting. Second bullet point, the first two bullet points. The first three, let's do that. Because you do need to know, it does provide information about network users, applications, peak users, time, and all of that. But, it does network planning, security, it can analyze, and you can actually see if you have a denial of service attack, it monitors that, it monitors the whole network in terms of traffic. You can analyze it and find where the bottlenecking in a specific LAN may be, and if you need to redesign the network to make the performance a little bit better, and it can help you make your network or your LAN more scalable, better management, better security without compromising other devices. So network NetFlow is very, very important. Not necessarily it's going to capture attacks, but it's morely for traffic purposes. All right, so here is an example of a NetFlow captured data or record. Application, visibility, and control, the AVC. So the Cisco AVC is a Cisco appliance that will allow you to capture, recognize over hundreds or thousands of applications. So the Cisco AVC will be able to capture voice, video, email, file sharing, gaming, you name it, right? The Cisco AVC uses the Cisco Next Generation network-based application recognition version 2. So that's the latest and the greatest if you ever need to get one. All right, so it is, please write this down, because if you're taking the exam, they will ask you about what does the AVC actually can do for us. It can do application recognition, such as Cisco WebEx, YouTube, and so on. It does metric collection. It can find out how much bandwidth you'll be using, the response time, if there's any latency, any delay, any packet loss. It can capture jitter, the variable delay, point to point. It will do management and reporting, and it will actually do some control, right? For quality of service. So it does all of that in one big, huge appliance. So here's a typical capture of port monitoring, for example. So there's certain ports that are, there is a lot, we don't know what these ports are being captured. This is a captured data that is being analyzed, and the port is not known. Here you have HTTP. There's a lot of HTTP connections, HTTPS, and so on, right? And you can actually specifically capture what applications are being used. So here there's a BitTorrent. There's a lot of Netflix applications that are being also transmitted on the network. So AVCC can actually find out what type of applications, type of data that's being sent, and what ports are open to allow these types of data to go through. Client content log. So you can actually get to the actual content and find out that's, what is in the content of the data that is traversing your network. And here's another capture. And you can actually get more details about a specific application and its content. So devices such as the Cisco email security appliance or the web security appliance will allow you to get to the content itself and analyze it to see if there's any malware hidden within the data itself. Logging from Cisco devices. So this is important. So please take a picture of this. This is an Cisco security devices can submit alerts, using SNMP or syslog servers. So here is a typical Cisco ASA device reported this message. So this will tell you the timestamp, when it happened, the device, that's the Cisco facility. The severity is number 3. Here's the ID for it, and the message is disallowing new connection. So this alert was sent to a syslog server, right? Here's a Cisco device generated its own alert. This is from the system itself, and it has a severity of number 5. And configured from the console. So somebody did some configuration and using the config whatever. That's the mnemonic, right? So it is important that you can read some of these alerts. So please take a picture of this. Proxy logs. Well, first of all, remember that proxy servers, write that down, as those are used for rep and DNS requests, will contain some valuable logs that are important because they tell us where the source and the destination data is going to, right? And what's being generated. So where's that? Because a lot of hackers would like to use proxy servers to hide their identity. All right, and you can inspect, web proxies. It's also possible to use web proxies to inspect the outgoing traffic as means of data loss prevention, right? The Cisco Umbrella formerly was used, formerly was known as the Open DNS. So Cisco uses that now and applies to many more sources to manage than most organizations. So an example of a DNS proxy log is down here. I think, you may not be able to use that as much. But the Cisco Next Generation firewalls are really something big that Cisco are promoting and advocating. So these devices go beyond just filtering packets according to, layer 3 and layer 4 and even the application layer. So they have dashboards and they're GUI integrated, and they can get to the problem much quicker, and they can actually, they've included some advanced malware protections, IPSs within there. So please write down that last bullet point for the next generation firewalls. They include does not only act as a firewall, but they can detect denial of service attacks. They can detect malware, so it's all in one appliance can do all of that for you. All right, so again, also write these 5 bullet points for the next generation firewalls. They can tell you about connection events, intrusion events, host or endpoint events. So it logs a lot of information for you. It's not only going to stop packets that are not supposed to go into your network, deny or even protect packets, but it goes beyond that. It keeps a log of all the data that's going through. NetFlow events, network discovery, and so on. So you can analyze the data yourself and reconfigure the firewall to either permit or deny some of those packets. All right. So that's it for Module 25. Please take the notes, and I'll submit them, and I will see